For episode 8 of the World Triathlon podcast, we welcome Scotland's Marc Austin. Since the age of 8, triathlon has been a huge part of Marc's life, finishing second in the 2013 Junior and 2014 Under-23 World Champs, before hitting the elite circuit and peaking with a bronze at the 2018 Commonwealth Games, all of which made the news that he would have to retire from the sport due to a genetic heart condition all the harder to take. So, Marc, welcome to the World Triathlon podcast. How and where are you, and how did you take the news coming in the middle of what was already a very strange lockdown?
I'm good, thank you. I am in Glasgow at the moment, and lockdown's been pretty strange for me because obviously I got the news about like having a heart disease. So apart from that, it's been pretty good, and definitely a lot of like self-reflection, I guess, at the moment. But I think it's probably been in my favour that we've been in lockdown during this, as it's given me a bit of time to just accept it without having to be living a normal life. End of February in 2019, I started, when I was like doing hard sessions, I would just have like strange sensation in my chest. Just like quite a lot of it, you know. So I did one run session where I think it probably happened like 50 times. But like because there was no other side effects, and I wasn't like dizzy or anything, I wasn't really sure what it was, to be honest. And then I decided to like call a doctor and sort of explained it to him, and we did a bit of testing and found out that it was actually like palpitations, and like my heart rate was rapidly increasing, and then coming back down to normal. So then from that was like March in 2019, and then from then on I've just been like under investigation and doing like loads of testing and stuff. And because it's a progressive disease, and because I'm like at a very early stage of it, like I essentially there was really not many signs last year, and there was no damage to the heart, which is a good thing. But it means that like if they scan my heart, they can't say, "Oh right, yeah, you've definitely got it," because they couldn't see anything. So then at the start of this year, I actually got cleared in August last year. They said like, yeah, we can't find anything, and like you're good to go. But then I had a like monthly checkup and monthly tests just to like double check, I guess. And then those tests sort of showed some abnormalities again, and then the scan this year showed a bit of progression. And that was in March, April, and then that was when I found out that like sadly was, you know, elite sport and endurance sport is not what you want to be doing when you have this disease, as it just makes it progress a lot faster. So it was definitely some like worrying times, certainly towards the end of last year, where there was a lot of like conflicting opinions on the results. And you know, some people thought that I should just be on the couch doing nothing, and then other people were like, you know, why are you still testing him, because he's passed all the like all the scans are good and there's no sign of anything bad going on. So I was in like caught in a bit of a conundrum in terms of, should I be going out training or should I be staying at home? And going out training, there was quite a lot of like bad thoughts going around my mind about like whether I was doing the right thing or not. So
Well, yeah, totally. If that's what you so obviously want to be doing, and some people are saying it's perfectly okay and some are saying it's not, then you obviously are desperately keen to get back out there. And presumably it was because also at the end of each of those sessions where you were feeling something, then as soon as you cool back down, then there's no lingering effects, right? You're back to normal.
Absolutely. And even in the moment, it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't really that bad. Like I would be running at like you know, like sub 3 minute Ks, and then have it happen to me for like 10 seconds and feel a bit like breathless, and then it would go away and I would control it. And then it was definitely that wasn't that bad. I would say that the worst time was towards the end of last year, where I just didn't know what I should be doing, and I didn't really know what the next step was. So even it was obviously horrible news to find out, but actually having a definitive answer was nicer than like the unknown, and the kind of worry that I don't know what I should be doing right now. But I don't want to sit at home and not train, because then I'll never get back to where I want to be in terms of getting on the start line this year. And at the same time, I don't want to go out and be training if it's going to potentially lead to me having like an early death. So that, yeah, that was not enjoyable. Whereas now, you know, when I like, yeah, I know what I need, I know what I can and can't do, and it's unfortunate that I can't do some of the things that I love, but there's not really a temptation to go and be doing track sessions because it's, yeah, like I know what it's going to cause, so I'm not really that fussed about doing that, and I'm just trying to find some other things that I'll enjoy as much as I did triathlon.
Looking back then, 2014 was a massive breakthrough year for you with the home Commonwealth Games in Glasgow and the first World Series in Yokohama.
Yeah, so like 2014, that was my main the main thing I was training for as a youngster. So when I was 13, they announced that Glasgow would have the games, and I remember my swim coach that day saying, like, as I got out of swimming, he was like, "Oh, you know, that you should really kind of like, I guess, put that as at the forefront of your mind, and this is something that you can do." So like, as a 13-year-old, to hear someone say like you could go to the home Commonwealth Games, that was like massive kind of self belief. And from then on, I was just like that. My sole aim in triathlon was to be on that start line. So to stand there was really incredible. And then obviously had quite a like good day looking back. At the time, it was pretty intense, but to experience the home crowd on the front with like the two like absolute legends of the sport, um, and you know the Brownlee brothers, like everyone in the UK knows who they are. So all of a sudden, I went from just being like all my friends just know me as doing triathlon. They don't really know how good I am, or like they know that I do it, but that's about it. And then they can actually see like, oh, you're able to keep up with those two guys that like were in the Olympics, and yeah, that for me that was like such a cool experience. And from then on, I was sort of like, yeah, I've done that, and anything now is not a bonus. Not to say that like I was content, but that had sort of
That
if I
moment.
yeah, that moment meant that if I had to retire for any given reason, I was like, I'll be happy with my career because I did that. Um, and I had like world medals from junior, but nah, the 2014 stood out for me, and I still think that's like one of probably the favorite race, my favorite racing experience. Just because of the crowd, I just never experienced anything like that, and it's really yeah, quite a like 15 minutes of fame moment. So yeah, love that.
I mean, yeah, in the UK, certainly that, between, I guess that was smack between the 2012 and 2016 Olympics, right? And
Mhm.
triathlon couldn't really have been much bigger in the UK at that point.
No, exactly. It was quite new in a lot of people's minds, but I think because of Alistair and Jonathan in 2012, everyone like people genuinely were like, "Oh, let's go and watch the triathlon so we can see them." So I think there was just a massive crowd down there because they were there. So yeah, but it benefited me because I got to experience like a home crowd, and that's something that I've never. Well, I got it again in 2018, but it definitely wasn't the same as the Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth Games was great. That was just a crazy week to live in Glasgow. It was just pretty unreal to see the city transform, and all these like famous athletes like cutting about where you've like trained your whole life. Like my local where I learned to swim was the training center, and so I was just at the training pool, and like all these world leading triathletes were swimming at the pool that I like have been swimming in since I was like 3 years old. So that was pretty surreal.
So Yokohama 2014, that first World Series, again, like a
Yeah,
serious
that
buzz
was
kind of on that start line and heading into that race.
yeah, it was all right. I like took that race on a bit of a whim, and I yeah, hadn't really. I'd been a bit injured going into it, but then I got offered a start, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll just like why not? And I got absolutely hammered. So yeah, it was good to like understand what that race, what like World Series racing was, because until then I didn't have any clue, and yeah, to like realize the standard was pretty like humbling, and that was the same with 2014, where I was riding with them, and they were riding as fast as they could and pulling way more than me, and then dropped me, and then went on to run faster than everyone. And I was just like, all right, that's, yeah, it was pretty mind blowing to see what the best in the world were capable of. So I would say that was the same for Yokohama as well. But those experiences are pretty good in terms of, yeah, like just exposing you and making you realize like, oh, okay, I've done like well as a junior, but the jump from junior to senior is like crazy, and I need to go back and have a think about what I'm doing in training if I ever want to compete with these people. But as a fan of the sport, like racing those races was really cool experience, and really good to see what people are capable of.
Something like that doesn't leave you feeling too flat. It focuses the mind a bit, does it?
Yeah, a bit, because I always knew that I knew I was a good athlete, so it wasn't like I did Yokohama and then I thought, oh no, I'm like terrible at this now, because I knew like I'd medaled at World Juniors the year before, so I was like, I know that I'm a good athlete. I'm just, there's a few things that I'm getting wrong, and I think I always had a bit of like inner belief that I knew that I was, if I did everything right and if I figured everything out, then that one day I could definitely stand on an Olympic podium if everything went my way. But there's like probably 50 other guys in the same position as me, so it's about figuring out how you're going to be one of those people. So yeah, definitely I never really felt deflated after racing. It was always just like getting exposed and trying to figure out why, if it had gone badly, trying to figure out why. But yeah, I never felt too down after a bad race.
And so equally heading to Gold Coast Commonwealth Games 2018, you had a crash in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah, so that was the first race of the year, and then
Yeah.
we went to Australia and just trained. But I'd had a really good winter, and just hadn't, everything had gone pretty spot on. So yeah, there was a couple of things I did wrong in Abu Dhabi, but I knew that it wasn't a reflection of what the shape I was in. So I
And
sort of,
again, can something like that sort of actually like sharpen your mind a little bit rather than have it hanging over you going into Gold Coast? It was like, well, actually, that's something I won't do again, or
yeah, a wee bit. And I think part of me was just like, all right, the next race is Gold Coast. I don't have to jump through any more hurdles to get there, sort of thing. Because that was definitely like, I didn't train that winter for Abu Dhabi. I trained that winter for Gold Coast. So part of me was just like sort of glad to get out of the way, and that now I can focus on the main event. And yeah, it definitely, I didn't. Yeah, I can't remember really thinking about it for too long after it, to be honest.
and that getting that podium
Mm-hmm.
in the Com Games must have been an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it was good. I think it was interesting for me to see how much I'd changed in 4 years in terms of like my like approach to it. I guess I think going into 2014, I was nervous. I was definitely enjoyed it, but I was really nervous, and yeah, just kind of beat myself up a bit after. And whereas going into Gold Coast, I was really relaxed, and just because I'd had so much fun preparing for it. Like, we had a really good group out in Noosa of Tom and Jess and Jess's boyfriend John, and yeah, I just had like really fun 2 months being away with them. And so and then Jess got silver before my race, and so I was like, oh well, like I trained with her and I helped her. Like, well, I didn't help her, but like I was part of that medal a little bit,
Yeah.
so that relaxed me. And then I was just like, oh, just let's see what I can do. And I knew that I was really fit, and I just thought I'm gonna have a pretty good race. I didn't really think too hard about it. And then just, yeah, one of those days where the performance sort of like took care of itself. I don't really remember that much of it, apart from on the run, when obviously things start to get like a bit harder. So that was definitely where like the race started on the run for me. But yeah, that was just, yeah, such a good day. And yeah, it didn't really, it wasn't like a defining moment at the time, but I look back and it definitely probably was. But for me at the time, it was just all good fun. And yeah, it wasn't like a massive like emotional release or anything like that, like that you might expect as a youngster, like that all like you, because for me that was a dream of mine. I didn't actually think I would ever get a medal like that. So to achieve that, what really was like massive for me.
Which makes, you know, the news of your retirement all the more sad for everyone involved in the sport. But you sound very much like a cup half full kind of person. So
Yeah,
you're
well,
thinking,
I think so, because I guess it's up to me how I like decide to like react to the news. I think you could quite easily just react by being really sad and thinking about all the things that you wanted to do that you can't. And for sure, like that those moments come, and like those thoughts do pop into your head of like, this is so unfair. Like, I didn't get a chance to do this and do that, and all these other people do. But for the most part, it's just like, this is the situation, and nothing I can do will change like the facts. But I can I can still like be happy, and my idea of like a normal life is perhaps like too high, and so I need to like adjust my expectations. That's kind of how I see it at the moment, and it's just like about adjusting my expectations, and just living a slightly more normal life. But at the same time, I definitely don't want to be the average guy on the street and just try and figure out a way to be to excel in something else.
yeah, there's no reason why the next chapter can't be as exciting, just in a totally different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you had much support in terms of to be thinking about the next stage of your career and what kind of avenues might be open to you?
Yeah, no, I've had good support from British Triathlon, and like just a few people kind of reaching out to me and offering like help in figuring out what I want to do. So that's been really good. And I think obviously I did actually get a job pretty early on, because I was pretty nervous about the fact that I'd never had a job, and all of a sudden was just like scrolling LinkedIn and like applying for stuff. So I did get a job, but then I decided that was probably too soon, and I just like think I'm just going to go and relax for a bit and go do some things that I wish I could have, like all the things that you as an athlete you can't do and you wish you could do, like traveling about and seeing more friends, and yeah, all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to do that for a few months, and then hopefully have like maybe a little epiphany will hit me when I'm like out somewhere cool. And yeah, I don't know, that's sort of like my romantic idea of what the next step is. But yeah, for sure, I'm looking at different careers and talking to people about that. But I think I've got a bit of time, and it would be stupid not to use it. So I'm definitely just gonna take a few months to like come up with something, and then yes, it might not be. I mean, the first thing that I do probably isn't going to be my ideal lifelong passion, but it will definitely be like one step closer to finding that.
Yeah. So the roller coaster of lockdown for you, also one of the pitfalls was spending too much time on LinkedIn and actually getting yourself a job too quickly.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess. But that was a nice wee like confidence boost to think, right, okay, so I can get a job if I try hard. Because yeah, like I'm sure a lot of athletes are the same. Where I was a swim teacher for a bit, but that's as close to as I've come to working a normal job. So when it comes around, it's actually quite scary, thinking like, oh, what happens if no one wants me and I end up stacking shelves somewhere? That was a big fear. So hopefully that's not my future. But yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about being able to like I'm in a good position. I'm pretty lucky with the like experiences that I've had and stuff. They're relatively unique. So I think as long as I work hard, I'll get to where I want to be. I definitely want to stay involved in the sport, and there's there's loads of ways that I can do that, and it's just about finding what my ideal position in the sport is. But I know for sure that I don't want like this to be the end of my relationship with triathlon. I want to still be involved in it because it's given me so much, and I love it. I think it's a great sport, and I think it's full of good people. So yeah, I definitely want to stay involved in some capacity going forward. So yeah, whatever role suits me best.
Well, best of luck with that next chapter. Thanks ever so much for coming on the podcast and reflecting and looking forward. It's been really good to hear from you.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
Great.
And catch you later.
All right. Cheers,
Bye.
Mark. Take care.